My in-laws' cruel words left me in tears on my wedding day, so I walk away. Now they beg for help, the tables turned in ways they feared most. Having made the decision to marry my boyfriend, Ethan, and paying a visit to his family's abode for introductions, I encountered a startling rejection from all his kin on the appointed day. Their chilling words echoed, "Never reach out to us again, your voice is unwelcome." It seemed their upbringing, steeped in adulation for their physical charms, had fostered an environment of harshness and envy toward those who possessed what they lacked. Regrettably, I found myself the unwitting target of their jealousy, with even my father-in-law and brother-in-law silently aligning with their rejection. Yet several months later, I had the sweet satisfaction of orchestrating a masterful revenge upon these four. My name is Amy, age 27, now basking in serene and joyful days, encircled by love for my husband, our treasured child, and my own parents. The genesis of this newfound contentment traces back 3 years when I was just 24. It all began with Ethan, my former colleague turned beau, who proposed to me, bonding over our shared love for cinema. Our friendship blossomed into romance through countless movie dates on our days off. Ethan's gentle demeanor and universal amiability endeared him to many at work. Averse to conflict, he possessed a forgiving nature that endeared him to all. From the moment I joined the company, Ethan intrigued me. So, when he finally mustered the courage to ask me out, I was elated, eagerly anticipating each day at work. During moments of professional missteps and personal lows, he offered unwavering support, fostering a natural desire within me. I want to spend my life with this man. Ethan harbored ambitions of launching his own business down the line, and I was eager to stand by his side, offering unwavering support every step of the way. When he proposed to me, my heart soared with joy. There was no hesitation. I accepted his proposal without a second thought, resolved to spend my life with him. The weekend following Ethan's heartfelt proposal, we promptly journeyed to my family's abode, introducing Ethan to my parents and sharing our plans to wed. Ethan's warmth and charm extended effortlessly to my family, effortlessly bonding with my father over drinks and conversation. My parents, enchanted by Ethan's demeanor, readily embraced our union, reveling in our shared happiness. Witnessing Ethan effortlessly blend into my family dynamic, I couldn't help but feel blessed to have him in my life. As the weekend waned, our sights turned to meeting Ethan's family. While I realized I hadn't gleaned much about them from Ethan, I brushed aside any concerns, presuming his independence might have led to infrequent contact with his parents. The eve of our visit, during a casual phone call with Ethan discussing our plans for tomorrow, he cryptically mentioned, "My parents might come off a bit peculiar, but don't dwell on it too much." His words sparked a twinge of apprehension, but with the early morning looming, I chose to set aside any worries and retire for the night. Around 10 p.m., the following day, Ethan and I rendezvoused at the station, embarking together toward his family residence. It marked my inaugural visit to his familial abode, and despite my attempts to quell my nerves, a persistent jitteriness lingered throughout the morning. Walking alongside Ethan, his words seemed to blur amidst the frantic thudding of my heart. Before us loomed a majestic mansion, reminiscent of a fairy tale castle. The sprawling garden only intensified my trepidation as I pondered Ethan's upbringing in such opulent surroundings. Yet, his reassuring smile offered some solace as he gently remarked, feeling nervous, "It's all right, let's proceed." Upon our grand entrance, my mother-in-law greeted us warmly, her graceful demeanor and impeccable appearance exuding elegance. Her welcoming demeanor momentarily eased my apprehension. Once inside, the rest of the family, save for my mother-in-law, greeted me with smiles, alleviating some of my unease. Finding myself warmly embraced, I sat along the sofa, engaging in pleasant conversation over dinner before proudly announcing our engagement to all present. Ethan's family beamed with delight, particularly my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, who expressed their excitement at welcoming me into the family with endearing words. We're thrilled to have such a charming addition to our family. Their warm reception touched me deeply, fostering a sense of belonging. As the pleasant conversation flowed, I learned more about Ethan's family. His father managed a successful company specializing in package tours, while his brother, an executive director within the same company, harbored aspirations of eventually assuming its leadership. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law gracefully balanced their roles as homemakers, enriching their lives with pursuits like dance classes and flower arrangement lessons. My sister-in-law, radiating confidence with her impeccable appearance, left a lasting impression. Meanwhile, my father-in-law's kindness and affable demeanor put me at ease. His engaging conversation effortlessly quelled any nerves. I found solace in his amiable presence, genuinely grateful for his warmth. However, the harmonious atmosphere was briefly disrupted by a question from my father-in-law, inquiring about my employment status at the same company as Ethan. I clarified that I held a permanent position, having joined as a regular employee following my graduation from Harvard University. His pride in my accomplishments was palpable, his admiration evident as he praised my achievements. The ensuing praise from both my father-in-law and Ethan left me feeling slightly embarrassed yet profoundly touched by their words of admiration and support. In reality, my journey led me to a prestigious university in the United States, where I dedicated myself to studies, even at the expense of sleep. During my high school years, my parents, despite limited means, toiled relentlessly to afford my college education. Fueled by a deep-seated determination to secure a promising career and ultimately repay my parents' sacrifices, I poured my heart into every endeavor. Engrossed in lively conversation with others, I couldn't help but notice the sudden silence from my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. A pang of apprehension gripped me, prompting a frantic search for a change of topic. Observing a striking arrangement of flowers adorning the table, I ventured a compliment, only to be met with a sharp retort from my mother-in-law questioning the sincerity of my interest in housewives' pastimes given my professional stature. Bewildered by her abrupt shift in demeanor, I struggled to comprehend the underlying hostility. Echoing her sentiments, my sister-in-law insinuated that my academic background might lead me to dismiss their pursuits as trivial. I never intended such implications, yet found myself at a loss for words, choking back tears of frustration. Ethan swiftly intervened, rebuking their baseless assumptions and defending my character. Though his words offered solace, I remained mute, unable to muster a response, my gaze fixed downward. Surveying the room, I noted my father-in-law, inebriated and slumbering on the sofa since noon, alongside my disinterested brother-in-law, idly scrolling through his phone. Sensing the palpable tension, Ethan tactfully suggested bringing the gathering to a close, offering a much-needed reprieve from the stifling atmosphere. As we made our way back to the station, Ethan offered his apologies, explaining, "I'm sorry about today. My mom and sister have quite the pride. They're particularly touchy about their high school education." Later, Ethan revealed that his mother-in-law had worked at a flower shop straight out of high school, where his father-in-law had become enamored with her at first sight. A captivating beauty, she drew numerous customers to the shop daily. Through persistent pursuit, his father-in-law won her affections, and they eventually married, with him still seemingly wrapped around her finger to this day. Similarly, his sister-in-law, a striking woman, had reconnected with Ethan's brother-in-law at a high school reunion in their early 20s. Enchanted by her transformation, he pursued her relentlessly until they became a couple. Like his father-in-law, Ethan's brother-in-law appeared to acquiesce to his wife's wishes without question. Despite my advanced education, I struggled to comprehend their insecurities. They were both beautiful women with devoted husbands who adored and protected them. Yet I couldn't shake off a lingering sense of unease, questioning whether marriage would truly be as harmonious as I had envisioned. Nonetheless, with the family's blessings secured, we forged ahead with wedding plans, hoping that open communication would bridge any divides. "Rest assured, Amy, I'll always stand by your side," Ethan reassured me, instilling a sense of optimism within me. After months of meticulous planning, the day before our wedding arrived, only to be disrupted by an unexpected phone call from Ethan's mother. As Ethan's voice rose in disbelief, I listened in shock to his revelation that his parents had suddenly decided not to attend the wedding due to a forgotten trip they had booked for the same day. Stunned and bewildered by this unforeseen turn of events, We attempted to reach them for an explanation, to no avail, met only by the incessant ringing of unanswered calls. Perplexed by the abrupt turn of events, we hastened to Ethan's parents' house, only to find it dark and deserted, indicating their absence. I voiced my concerns to Ethan, recalling the tense atmosphere during my previous visit, questioning if I had inadvertently offended his mother and sister. Ethan attributed their demeanor to their prideful nature, acknowledging that highly intelligent individuals often bore stubborn tendencies, but he remained uncertain of any specific grievances they held. Puzzled by his father's absence as well, Ethan explained that both his father and brother-in-law were inclined to defer to their wives, likely aligning with them to avoid discord. His distress was palpable, leaving me at a loss for words. Ultimately, our attempts to contact Ethan's family proved futile, compelling us to proceed with the wedding sans their presence. We were left bewildered by the unfolding events, questioning the reasons behind their absence, even if they genuinely forgot about their trip. I struggled to comprehend why they would prioritize it over their son's wedding. Upon learning of Ethan's family's absence, my own parents expressed understanding, though their expressions betrayed a hint of complexity, burdening me with a sense of guilt for causing them distress on what should have been a joyous occasion. During the reception, murmurs circulated among our guests, questioning the absence of Ethan's parents. Even our boss, who graciously offered a toast, inquired about their whereabouts, leaving us grappling for an appropriate response. Faced with the dilemma of revealing the truth, we opted to deflect inquiries by attributing their absence to illness. What was meant to be a day of celebration turned into one fraught with mental exhaustion. Days later, when Ethan and I visited his parents to relay the events of the ceremony, his mother's nonchalant demeanor and lack of remorse stung deeply. Suppressing my sadness to maintain familial harmony, I responded with a strained smile, concealing the hurt that lingered within. Ethan's voice cut with tension like a knife, his words echoing with a mixture of disbelief and frustration, canceling the day before the wedding with all our relatives absent? Is that even acceptable? If you had no intention of attending, you shouldn't have accepted the invitation in the first place. His sister-in-law's response only added fuel to the fire. I would have attended if Amy wasn't the bride, she declared coldly, leaving me utterly bewildered, my head spinning with confusion. Before I could make sense of her words, Ethan's mother launched her own accusation, attempting to deflect blame onto me. Don't lay all the blame on us. I wanted to witness my son's special day, but Amy, you ruined it. I'm a victim here too. I demand an apology. Ethan, sensing my shock, rallied to my defense. How can you blame Amy? She's done nothing wrong, he retorted, his voice tinged with incredulity. But the silence of Ethan's father-in-law until now was ominous. When he finally spoke, it was with a venomous intensity that sent shivers down my spine. Enough is enough. How dare you barge in here on our day off to complain? Is that all you came for? Get out. His words were like a slap in the face, and before we could even process what was happening, we found ourselves forcibly ejected from their home. As I hastily slipped on my shoes at the entrance, my mind reeled with shock and disbelief, struggling to comprehend the sudden turn of events. A sharp sting on the sole of my foot jolted me into a panic. Ouch! I exclaimed, lifting my foot to find a caterpillar wriggling inside my shoe. Recoiling with disgust, I hastily kicked off my shoe and fled outside, releasing the creature into the open air. As I stood, one shoe on, catching my breath, I noticed my mother-in-law and sister-in-law watching, their laughter laced with a malicious edge. "Are you all right?" they asked, their concern ringing hollow. Eager to escape the uncomfortable situation, I mumbled an apology and made a swift exit, only to be halted by my mother-in-law's unexpected words. "Amy, please refrain from involving yourself in our affairs except for weddings and funerals," she said, her tone final as she shut the door, leaving me bewildered and hurt. What had I done to deserve such treatment? All I wanted was to foster a positive relationship with Ethan's family. On the journey home, Ethan showered me with apologies, assuring me that I needn't endure any further interactions with his family. Despite his efforts to console me, I couldn't shake the feeling of guilt and confusion. The revelation that my presence had caused such disdain from his mother-in-law and sister-in-law weighed heavily on my mind, leaving me questioning my worth. The next day brought a new wave of distress as my entire body erupted in intense itching. Rushing to the mirror, I was greeted with the sight of fiery red swelling covering my skin. A visit to the dermatologist revealed that the cause was caterpillar stings from the previous day. The itching was unbearable, robbing me of sleep for weeks on end. Recalling an unsettling incident at Ethan's house, where I had noticed my brother-in-law tampering with my shoes at the front door, I couldn't shake the feeling of distrust toward my in-laws. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, Ethan fell ill and was hospitalized with stomach pains, diagnosed with a suspected gastric ulcer. Worried sick, I insisted he take time off work and accompanied him to the hospital for further tests. Grappling with the mounting challenges that seemed to plague us relentlessly, I hesitated, recalling the blunt instruction to only reach out in the event of a wedding or funeral. Yet, I couldn't bring myself to keep Ethan's hospitalization a secret from his parents. Gathering my courage, I dialed their number, my hand trembling as the phone rang, nerves twisting my stomach into knots. The mere sound of my mother-in-law's voice filled me with a profound sense of dislike, a testament to the strained relationship that had developed between us. "Hello," she answered. "It's Amy. I apologize for not keeping in touch. There's something I need to tell you," I began tentatively. "Ethan has been hospitalized. They suspect it might be a gastric ulcer, so he's undergoing tests," I explained, hoping for a shred of concern or empathy. "A gastric ulcer? Probably from overworking," she dismissed callously. "Please spare me from such trivial matters." "I'm busy," she added, brushing off Ethan's health concerns with callous indifference. "Trivial? Don't you care about Ethan?" I retorted, my frustration bubbling over. "I won't bother you anymore. I'll call Ethan directly," I concluded, my voice thick with disappointment. Before I could hang up, my brother-in-law abruptly took the phone. "You're too persistent. Can't you read the room?" he chastised. "Whether Ethan is in the hospital or not, your constant calls are irritating," he snapped before ending the call abruptly. The abrupt click of the line cutting off left me reeling, a surge of indignation coursing through me. The callous rejection from my in-laws, their harsh words cutting deeper than I had anticipated, shattered any lingering hope of reconciliation. In that moment, I made a solemn vow to myself. If they don't want me to contact them, fine. I want nothing to do with that family anymore. I'll never reach out to them again, no matter the circumstances. Following Ethan's recovery, which proved to be a mild gastric ulcer, he diligently adhered to medication, experiencing a notable improvement in his health. I recounted the entire ordeal to Ethan, who met my explanation with unwavering determination. "Let's distance ourselves from my family," he declared firmly. "The only person who matters to me now is you, Amy. If they can't accept you, then they're not family to me, regardless of blood ties." A year later, Ethan took the leap to pursue his long-standing aspiration of establishing a software sales business, leveraging his prior job experience. His relentless dedication paid off as he tirelessly worked toward realizing his dream. While our venture was still in its nascent stage, witnessing even a fraction of Ethan's vision materialize filled me with profound joy. Our happiness only multiplied with the arrival of our healthy baby boy a year into Ethan's entrepreneurial journey. My parents shared in our elation, frequently visiting us despite the lengthy journey from their home to ours. We opted not to inform Ethan's parents of our son's birth, certain that their indifference would remain unchanged. Their silence following our earlier confrontation offered a sense of relief, freeing us from the burdensome ties of a strained relationship. Several months later, as the global pandemic of the novel coronavirus swept across the world, our country declared a state of emergency, urging citizens to stay indoors. News broadcasts were inundated with discussions of the pandemic's impact, particularly on industries such as restaurants and tourism. My heart ached for those affected, though I couldn't help but wonder about Ethan's father's package tour company, yet it was a passing thought, and any satisfaction I derived from imagining its plight was fleeting. Despite the challenging circumstances, Ethan's business flourished. While the initial phase of our entrepreneurial journey saw some financial instability, recent months had brought a surge in income, surpassing even Ethan's earnings as an employee. Our future looked promising, a testament to our resilience in the face of adversity. During this period, Ethan began receiving numerous calls from his parents' home. Despite the persistent attempts at communication, Ethan appeared determined to avoid any interaction, intentionally ignoring the calls and disregarding voicemails left behind. I often reassured him, "You don't need to worry about me. It's all right to reach out to them." While I held a deep-seated disdain for his family, I couldn't shake the guilt of causing Ethan to sever ties with his own parents. Yet, Ethan remained resolute in his stance, affirming, "Amy is my top priority, not my parents. If they can't accept you, regardless of their parental status, I can't hold them in high regard." I felt a mix of remorse and admiration for Ethan's unwavering loyalty. Despite Ethan's steadfast avoidance, the persistence of his parents was relentless. Daily calls went unanswered, and then one day, a letter arrived from his family home, bearing a startling message: "Our business is teetering on the edge of bankruptcy, and urgent financial discussions are necessary," it read. Their audacity was staggering, considering the estranged relationship they had imposed. We refused to entertain their demands, opting instead to let them face the consequences of their actions. "Let them face the repercussions of their decisions," I remarked. Soon enough, my own phone began to ring incessantly. Occupied with work, I couldn't attend the calls, but a voicemail left a clear indication of Ethan's continued avoidance. It seemed they had resorted to contacting me despite my explicit instructions to the contrary. Reluctantly, I listened to the message left on my voicemail, which simply stated, "Is this Amy's number? If Ethan persists in his silence, I'll visit in person. Let him know." 2 days following the voicemail, Ethan and I found ourselves enjoying a rare day off together at home. Just as we settled in after lunch, the doorbell chimed, signaling an unexpected visitor. Peering at the monitor, I was met with the sight of my 4 in-laws standing at the doorstep. Surprised, I looked at Ethan, who let out a weary sigh. We could just ignore them. "They'll eventually give up," he suggested. However, I couldn't shake the sense of pity. "They've come all this way. It wouldn't hurt to let them in," I countered. After a brief moment of contemplation, Ethan relented, unlocking the door to face whatever awaited us on the other side. Pitiful? Never would I entertain such thoughts about our cunning in-laws. I resolved silently, deliberately withholding the voicemail's revelation from Ethan. Everything was orchestrated to draw them into our home. My faint surprise at their arrival was a well-rehearsed act. I knew their desperation would eventually lead them to our doorstep. There was a method to my apparent madness. The true retaliation had yet to unfold, and it was time for a showdown. As the entire in-law clan stood at our front door, marching in without restraint, I couldn't help but express my exasperation. "Is it really that difficult to just open a door?" "It's simply uncouth," I remarked with thinly veiled frustration. Observing our son engrossed in play with his toys on the floor, Ethan's mother couldn't resist a remark. "Whose child is this?" she inquired. "He's our son," I replied matter-of-factly. "Ah, I recall now. Since you insisted we cease contact, I saw no need to inform you of his arrival. Clearly your interest is lacking," she retorted dismissively. Her contemptuous gaze met mine, and she muttered disparagingly under her breath. I found myself relishing the moment and turned to address Ethan's father. "What brings you here today?" "A courtesy call would have been appreciated," I stated, my tone tinged with sarcasm. Ethan's father bristled at my remark. "Didn't you receive the letter?" he retorted sharply. "You mean the one that arrived 2 days ago?" I countered, noting the frustration in his tone. "If you had bothered to read it, you'd know we required urgent communication," he snapped back, his anger palpable. Swiftly, I retorted, "You made it clear you wanted nothing to do with us anymore, so I assumed contacting you was unnecessary." Suppressing a grin as I faced the stern quartet, I noticed Ethan, my husband, remaining silent, allowing me to speak my mind freely. It was characteristic of him to gauge the situation adeptly. It seemed unfathomable that he was raised by parents lacking such basic sensibilities. Abruptly, my father-in-law's demeanor shifted, transitioning to a pleading tone. "Please, I apologize for the past. The ongoing COVID situation has devastated our travel business, with cancellations piling up and no new bookings in sight. We're facing ruin. Can't you assist me with some financial aid?" In response, I maintained, While I empathize with your predicament, I cannot readily aid someone who previously disavowed any connection with me. However, genuine displays of sincerity might sway my decision. Outraged, my father-in-law attempted intimidation, his expression contorted in fury. Unfazed, I resolved to handle the situation on my terms. "You're free to leave if you don't agree," I declared calmly. As my father-in-law persisted in pleading, beseeching me for assistance, I remained resolute. Eventually, he implored the others to apologize, leading to a collective plea from the entire group. In response, I politely declined their appeals, maintaining my composure. Enraged, my father-in-law slammed his hand on the table, his anger palpable as he grabbed my collar, accusing me of arrogance amid his attempts at reconciliation. Taken aback by his sudden aggression, I was about to intervene when Ethan stepped in, asserting, "Dad, don't lay a hand on Amy." My father-in-law retorted, "You're choosing your wife over your parents' plea?" Ethan remained firm, stating, "Amy is my priority. I can't condone mistreatment toward her, even from my own parents. I won't accept superficial apologies just for money. If you can't sincerely apologize to Amy, then leave." Enraged by Ethan's stance, my father-in-law lashed out, landing a punch squarely on Ethan's face. Shocked and struggling to comprehend the violence unfolding, I attempted to reason with my father-in-law, but he was beyond reason, relentlessly kicking Ethan as he lay on the ground. Desperate to intervene, I tried to restrain my father-in-law, but he shrugged me off, causing me to collide with the table, resulting in a painful impact to my head. As I touched the back of my head, I felt the warmth of blood trickling down my fingers. The other 3 family members, frozen in shock, watched as my father-in-law continued his rampage, demanding money and ransacking the room. In a moment of desperation, I opened the balcony window and cried out for help to the passers-by below, screaming that I was in danger. Within minutes, the police arrived. Upon their arrival, my father-in-law swiftly changed his demeanor, feigning innocence and dismissing the chaos as a misunderstanding. He attempted to paint me as intoxicated and delusional, trying to downplay his violent outburst with a disarming smile. I recounted to the officer, "Please apprehend this man. He assaulted both my husband and me, and he's been ransacking our home demanding money." In response, my father-in-law vehemently denied the accusations and, with a burst of anger, punched a hole in the wall. Without hesitation, the officers arrested him on the spot. Subsequently, the other 3 family members were also taken in for questioning. It became apparent that my father-in-law would spend some time in jail. Thankfully, Ethan only sustained a minor injury, a cut and bruise on his cheek that healed quickly. However, the wound on the back of my head required 10 stitches, turning out to be more serious than initially thought. While I felt a pang of guilt for Ethan's injury, a sense of relief washed over me, knowing that my in-laws had ceased their demands for money, possibly reflecting on their actions. As I later discovered, my father-in-law initially spoke highly of me, but my mother-in-law and sister-in-law's jealousy led them to manipulate him and my brother-in-law into treating me poorly. It's astounding how envy can alter one's behavior so drastically, leading to unforeseen consequences. It serves as a sobering reminder of the unpredictable nature of human emotions and the potential repercussions that follow. As anticipated, my in-laws faced financial ruin. Their business collapsed, and their home was repossessed. Now, they reside in a modest apartment, both nearing their 70s and struggling to secure employment. My brother-in-law, once privileged by his father's position, now languishes in a cycle of gambling at the casino, nearing 50 with no marketable skills. Meanwhile, my sister-in-law's attempts at job hunting are thwarted by her demanding demeanor, leaving her confined to their home. Following that turbulent incident, my father retired, prompting a decision for my parents and us to cohabit. Surprisingly, it was Ethan who proposed this arrangement out of concern for my parents' well-being in their twilight years. With my return to work, my parents graciously care for our son during the day, providing me with a sense of security in juggling childcare and my career. Surrounded by my beloved husband, caring parents, and our cherished son, life couldn't be more fulfilling. I am determined never to take this happiness for granted, and to always remain grateful for the blessings bestowed upon us.